Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Common Sense Practical Prepper podcast. My name is Keith, and this is episode 13, This Week in Prepping. Today is September 25th, Sunday evening. A little bit about what we'll talk about today. We'll talk about the corn index, the price of gas, Tropical Storm Ian, which is going to be a hurricane very soon. I've also narrowed down a website, narrowed down a URL. I got a couple of them that I need to pick from. And I've also enlisted the assistance of some folks to do a new, piece of cover art for the podcast, as well as an intro and outro professionally done. Okay. Corn index. So the price of corn is still 58 cents a can at my local Walmart. So in a week, the price of corn has not gone up. If you remember correctly, I paid 48 cents a can probably a few 3-4 months ago now. And then it has slowly creeped up. So now it is 10 cents more per can, 20% increase. Price of gas here in Central Virginia is holding steady at about $3.25, $3.30. There's a couple different gas stations, $3.05, $3.10. But for the most part, it's pretty much holding steady. Okay, let's talk about Tropical Storm Ian. As of a few hours ago, sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. It is... I'm not going to give you the latitude and longitude, not that it would, everybody, I know exactly where that's at. He gave me the latitude and longitude. Some of the winds and the rain and everything will hit the western edge of Cuba Monday night about 8 p.m. Now, in its current track, it should track a little bit north, take a right-hand turn, a gentle right, and there are several different models, and we're still probably a week away from true landfall, if not at least 4 or 5 days. Potentially looking at tropical storm winds Wednesday evening in Tampa, Florida, on the west side of Florida on the Gulf Coast. Now, it is expected to strengthen significantly once it gets into the warm waters of the Gulf sometime tomorrow, either late tonight or early tomorrow. So it'll definitely hit hurricane strength, which I believe is 70 miles an hour sustained winds. Not sure what the gusts are, but the hurricane hunters and stuff like that, the planes, they've been in and out all day. And so I think they do updates every 6 hours. And then as it gets closer to landfall, they do them every 4 and then every 2. So we will keep an eye on that. Now, as far as, the potential landfall in Florida, depending on what category, Ian happens to be, most of your folks in Florida aren't even going to bat an eye. I mean, they live through these type of hurricanes all the time, strong winds, heavy rains, and that's just something they've grown to deal with. Now, in the event it does make landfall in Tampa, the track will probably come up the East Coast, but very soon after it gets through Florida, it will break up, become a tropical storm, and then potentially down to a tropical depression. And then it's just going to spin around. There'll be winds, nothing too significant, but a lot of rain. Now, I remember, was that Katrina? Katrina hit New Orleans, broke up, came up the East Coast, significant rain, wind, thunderstorms, and I was without power in my apartment complex. I think it was 7 days, so that was not a lot of fun. But just like with anything, modern technology and all the information that we can get in real time from the National Hurricane Center, Florida, Cuba, I know, was it Fiona, took out Puerto Rico last week, and then it went up the East Coast, and it really tore Canada apart. I saw a little blip on the news about that. So this would be a good segue into talking about, when you're talking about, severe weather, a hurricane or a hurricane that's downgraded to a tropical storm, you want to look towards like a 72-hour bag or a 72-hour supply of food and water, power, whatever you're going to use, if anything. You got oil lamps, you got candles, you have flashlights, that sort of thing. So most people say, for severe weather like this, you're looking at 3 days. So that's 72 hours. I always go with 2 gallons of water per person per day. So if you have 3 people, there's 2, 4, 6, 3 people. So then you have 18 gallons of water. And something like this, you don't need, you can actually go to the store and you can get your bottled water. You can get, several gallons of, spring water, distilled water, whatever you want to use. And for 72 hours, that's the simplest thing to do. You don't need to be breaking in through your 55-gallon barrels. You don't need to be going out into your rain barrels and filtering water, and that sort of thing, putting in, water sanitation tablets and that sort of thing. So it's really simple. What is your food going to be? Well, I might grab a cooler, the day or two before, throw a bunch of ice in it, and, sandwiches, some bologna, some ham, bread, cheese, something relatively light. It's not like you're going to be breaking into your MREs. If you happen to have any freeze-dried meals like Mountain House, people take hiking, that sort of thing. That certainly could be something, that you can use. But, 72 hours is not an extended period of time, so not that difficult to prepare for. Does everybody out there have a passport? If you do not, why not? Everybody should have a passport. One, it's like the most authentic, ultimate piece of identification that you can provide anybody in your home country or anybody else, customs or whatever, law enforcement, government officials in a foreign country. So passports are recognized as, truly the best ID, that you can present to somebody. You go to Great Britain, you go to Italy, and you hand somebody a driver's license, they don't know what a Virginia, New Jersey, a Colorado driver's license looks like. But you hand them a passport, and that's all the information that they need. It's something that they're familiar with. They are not that difficult to get here in the U.S., and they're not that expensive. I recently got my third, my original passport, so I've got 2 additional ones. So they get ready to expire, and then here in the United States, I forget the rule. You can't fly domestically within a week or 2 of your passport expiring, or you can't present that as ID, and then you can't travel internationally if it's like 1 or 2 months from expiration. So I recently got my passport reissued, updated, whatever you want to call it. And here in the U.S., you send in your old passport, and they will send it back with the new one. Normally, they'll take like some sort of stamp, and they'll put little holes in the cover, so if anybody does happen to look at it, they know it's expired. This time they didn't. They just sent the new passport back with the old one when they're supposed to send them separately for for security reasons. They put them both in the same envelope and sent them back to me. The wait was probably 6 to 8 weeks, and I got it back within 4. So, if you're here in the United States, just Google U.S. passport, the Department of State. Once you Google it, you're going to get a lot of companies that pay to have their ads up front. They're like brokers. You pay them all this money, and they're going to help facilitate filling out the paperwork for you. And it's just ridiculous. Everything you need to do, you can do by yourself. Get the photos and go to the post office. If it's your first time, you have to meet with somebody official, like at the post office. But if you have it renewed before it expires, you literally do all the paperwork yourself and you send it in. So the instructions are not that difficult. So if you have not, very seriously consider getting a passport. And for the folks that listen to this podcast that are in foreign countries in Europe, I'm not even going to ask you guys that question. I can almost guarantee that everybody there has a passport. Primarily, the countries are relatively small compared to the U.S., and you can jump on a train and, in an hour, 2 hours, you can be in a completely different country. So it certainly makes travel a lot easier, over in Europe. Here in the United States, it could be 3 or 4 hours before you get into the next state. And you certainly don't need your passport to travel within the United States. But then again, it's always the best piece of ID that you can probably carry on you. All right, so what have I done this week? So I did a Costco run today. Picked up a 20-pound bag of white long grain rice. I have put that into a 5-gallon Mylar bag. I dropped that into one of my food grade buckets that I got from Home Depot, or was it Lowe's? And I got 3 from Home Depot and 1 from Lowe's, I think. And I went ahead and sealed it up, dropped in more than enough oxygen absorbers. And then I went ahead and sealed it up. It kind of seals like a, push all the air out. Kind of seals like a sandwich bag. It's got that I don't know, that little rail on it or whatever you want to call it. And then I went to seal it. Actually, you can heat seal it. Now they have, impulse sealers and Mylar bag sealers that are super duper expensive. I saw a gentleman the other day, he just used an iron. He folded it over like a 2x4 so you could have something solid underneath it. And he ran an iron over it a few times and it sealed it perfectly. I did that and it didn't work. I don't know what's going on. So I ordered a Mylar bag sealer. It's relatively inexpensive, and we're going to see what's going on with that. But I got all the air out, oxygen absorbers. I sealed it, and then put the gamma lid on it. So it's, it's airtight now, but I would rather seal it. Let's see. What else did I get at Costco? Not a whole lot. There was basically the rice. Picked up a couple of things of peanut butter. The Kirkland brand, the Costco brand is actually pretty good. And what else did I get? So I got some peanut butter. I got some jelly. I got several cans of soup, several cans of stew that had a really good expiration date, April of 2025, which basically means it's full of preservatives. But I actually want to try it. I'm actually going to try it ahead of time. But those soups and stuff, I mean, that's great expiration date. Throw it up on the shelf, and it's good to go. And just a couple incidentals I got for the house and stuff. Got some new socks and stuff like that. But as far as the prepping stuff, just I got another thing of honey. It went up another $1 in 2 weeks. So it's a 5-pound container, which is not very big because honey is very, very dense. I think that was $17. It went from $14.99, $15.99, and now $16.99 in the last couple months. Inflation is definitely here. Talking about, a global inflation, that sort of thing. So inflation is definitely here, regardless of what certain members of the administration might tell you. It is pretty significant, and it's not going away anytime soon. All right, let's talk about Russia and Ukraine. I think somebody says we're going on like 5 months of this. It just seems like yesterday. So several people and several, high-ranking cabinet members or whatever, and businessmen, these oligarchs or whatever, several of them have met their untimely demise in the last 3 weeks. One, quote-unquote, fell from a window in a hospital. One was, one drowned. It's weird. I'm not, Putin was a former KGB agent, so, he allows these people to travel around the world. Their big yachts make billions and billions of dollars, but obviously a lot of that money's coming back to Russia, and they certainly have to pledge their loyalty to him. So I'm not sure what's going on, but some of his closest friends and business partners have ended up dead. There's a shocker for you. Putin has also threatened to use nuclear weapons, kind of an isolated type situation in Ukraine. A lot of people think he's crazy or stupid enough to do it. I really don't know. But you know what? Putin is not a dumb guy. Okay. And if he says something, you have to take him at his word. I don't think he's going to bluff, because what other bluff do you have besides, dropping a small tactical nuke on a town or a region or something like that? And apparently they're going to hold some sort of referendum in the parts of the Ukraine that the Russians currently have under their control, some sort of referendum like, do you believe this part of Ukraine should become part of the Russian Federation? And I wonder how those ballot boxes are going to look. 100% of the people tallied say yes. Those who say no were never seen from again. I'm sure that's how the elections work over there. But the U.S. has sent billions and billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine, and I saw a story on it that absolutely makes me sick. So they said, also on August 1, we send $10 billion. It is several weeks, if not months, before that money ends up in the hands of the people that need to spend it. It's not like they order a bunch of tanks and they show up the next day like they ordered them from Amazon or something like that. And of course, all the people dipping their dirty fingers into it. I can't even imagine the number of bribes, the number of this. Hey, what about that? You owe me this. Who knows how much money actually gets there when it's all said and done? And of course, the people that are counting and they're looking at their bank accounts. It's the military industrial complex here in the United States. Everybody who makes the tanks, makes the missiles, the helicopters, the artillery pieces. And mind you, I'm not going to get into it. The U.S. military, for like the second or third year in a row, is not going to make its recruiting goals. But so we're sending a bunch of money overseas to help Ukraine fight the Russians. And in the same vein, our soldiers don't have the weapons and the ammunition and the training that they need. But anyway, I digress. Okay, Iran. There are a lot of protests, demonstrations. So one young lady, like a week ago, she didn't have her hijab on, Hijab, hijab, her face covering. And she was like arrested by the police. I don't know, it's like the government police, the town police. Obviously, they're loyal to the Shah and all that stuff. But anyway, she was murdered. And that really ticked a bunch of people off. So now you have men and women just running down the streets protesting. The women are burning their hijabs. They're putting out little piles. They're setting them on fire. I saw a couple videos where some women were walking without their head covering, without their face covering. And this one dude gets out of a car and slaps this lady across the face and starts fussing at her for not having her face covering. Well, then a bunch of dudes come off the sidewalk and beat the living crap out of this guy because they're not going to stand for that kind of stuff either. So really interesting what's going on there. It's, the people of Iran, they have been wanting to get away from this, from this dictatorship for a long, long time. But when the government cracks down, just like they do in Russia and other countries like that, the people get scared when people end up disappearing. Same in China. I mean, in China, they make no bones about it. They'll just shoot you right there or send you to a prison camp, and you're never to be seen again, slave labor, that sort of thing. So that is very interesting how that's developing. And I would love, for Iran to be a much more free Iran. Is there ever going to be a free Iran? Certainly nothing to the extent that we have here in the United States. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of resistance the government gives this revolution or whatever you want to call it. So certainly interesting to see what's going on over there. Oh, back to Putin. He's drafting like old people with like significant health issues. Men of military age are not allowed to travel outside of Russia in fear of not coming back. So certainly very interesting what's going on over there. But it all plays into, we have, civil unrest, world unrest. What was it? Oh, France just elected their first conservative, is it prime minister or president? Prime minister, I think. No, president. Anyway, I think it's a female. She's conservative. So certainly a very unique situation going on over there. But it all just goes into what's going on. The world has been turned completely upside down. Winter is pretty much here. Temperature much cooler the past few days, but winter is quickly approaching. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on fuel, oil, propane, natural gas, and I really just think it's going to get worse. As far as food supplies, my Costco, the grocery stores around here are just stocked all the way from floor to ceiling. I'm not seeing any shortage of any food at all. Now, people will tell you that the corn that you're eating now was the corn that was picked last year. The corn that's in the cans and stuff like that. That's last year's harvest. So the food, or the green beans, the soybeans, and all that stuff, the corn that has been picked is now being processed, and then that should hit the shelves 4 or 5 months, I guess. So that's when folks are saying we're going to see, some significant shortages because of the droughts in the western part of the United States, the wildfires, supply chain issues, that sort of thing. So interesting, very interesting in the next 6 months. And while it's something I just thought of, I'm gonna give you a couple names of some people on YouTube that I follow. Rose Red Homestead is a YouTube channel. I follow this young lady and her husband have been doing this for several years. And basically what they do is they're into long-term food storage. So they have like specific recipes that they talk about and how they prepare their food. No politics. They stay away from that. It is strictly how the recipes and how they cook their food and how they freeze dry it, dehydrate it, how they store it. The young lady, I just call her Rose Red. I'm not even sure what her name is. She's an educator. I think she's a professor, and she's been in education her entire life. So she approaches things very analytically and very thoroughly. She just doesn't do something just because she heard it on the internet and she saw it on 3 different YouTube videos. She actually does her research, and a lot of the research she does is from the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the government agency here in the United States that's responsible for, food and drugs, to make sure everything is, up to par, the rules and regs are being followed. And they actually have a lot of research as opposed to someone who just does something in their kitchen and they say, that's great, it works. And then it's all across the internet and everybody's saying, well, I've been doing it for weeks or months or years. My family's always canned tomatoes this way and nobody's died yet. But, Rose Red, she'll actually go to the FDA website and actually get, the actual data and share that. The other channel that I follow is City Prepping. The gentleman's name is Chris with a K, K-R-I-S, and he is out in California, I believe. And he provides a very unique perspective on prepping or emergency preparedness. He gets a lot of his information from multiple websites. He's not Mr. Doom and Gloom, but he will offer his opinion. And he'll always tell you that, you need to go out and make up your own mind. So he'll provide the information, and it's up to you if you choose to do something with it. It's entirely up to you. So it's kind of very refreshing. You can go on YouTube and the doom and gloom, and I can't even tell you some of the titles. Get this before it's gone. They're already here. The draft has started. It's so sad. These folks are doing more harm than good. The amount of clicks that they get just in a few hours. Some of these people will post something, they'll put some banner up there saying it has already started. And within 4 or 5 hours, 30 or 40,000 views on these videos. And Chris in City Prepping, he has a lot less views than some of these others, but the information that he provides is so much better. It's so thorough. It's well thought out. He gives his opinion. He provides links, and it's entirely up to you on what you want to do with it. Anyway, all right, folks. I know we covered a lot. I'm going to keep my eye on the tropical storm Ian, and I may drop in a couple of days later and provide a little update on that. So remember, 72 hours. If we're talking about significant weather or a natural disaster that's like a hurricane, that sort of thing, severe weather, and we're all going to get our passports. So if you're here in the United States, go to the State Department website. It's like, statedepartment.gov or something. Just Google it and make sure you're on the actual website. Thanks for listening, folks. And again, I may drop in later on this week as time permits. We'll talk a little bit about Tropical Storm Ian that should be a hurricane within the probably next 12 to 18 hours. As usual, be careful, take care of one another, and until next time.